Okay, so we were talking anyway about the key principles, and if you've got any questions, by the way, please just type in your questions and I'm happy to answer them, probably at the end of this, but please just type a question in. So let's look at the seventh key principle. The seventh key principle is about taking action and measuring results. So it's all very well and good doing the thinking and saying, right, what's my goal, what's my belief, who am I going to involve, let's get a plan together. But we've got to take action and measure the results. And of course that's possible to do because we've clearly defined a goal at the start. If you haven't got a clearly defined goal, how are you actually going to measure back the results that you've got? So if I was to sum up overall, I guess part of my philosophy is that if an organization wants to achieve results, it needs to take action. The organization expects to get some results, but in order to do that, we need to impose ways of working. Now, what a lot of organizations do is they direct all their learning and their development and their training about training people to take certain actions or do certain behaviors. But of course, in order to take those actions, people need to do some thinking. And it's very common that people assume that people have got the thinking skills to underpin that. So essentially what we do is we use the GoMad framework to help people with their thinking and then bolt on the behaviors and the development actions that they need to. So if it's about making a difference about customer care, let's learn the GoMad framework and then do some work around customer care and then make a difference about that. And that's commonly done through 90-day challenges. So let's move on. Here's a brilliant quote from Albert Einstein. If I only had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would surely spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I knew the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes. So here's somebody that's largely acknowledged as an all-round genius going, I would spend a disproportionate amount of time designing great questions. So if we then go, right, what are the questions that we could ask ourselves around this GoMad framework to improve our probability of success, to help either ourselves or our team make a difference, that basically is going to kind of like, increase our success. So how has this framework been used? Well, here's me with a couple of my friends, Ant and Dec. This was 3 or 4 years ago, where each year I decide to set myself quite challenging goals. Some people decide to climb Everest or run marathons. I decided that I was going to win a TV quiz show. So I entered and I ended up winning £65,000. Now, aside from that, that was just my goal to win a TV quiz show. I actually gave all that money away to 1,000 people at £65 a time. But I wanted to show you this just to show that you can use this framework for things outside of work, as well as the more traditional things that you can use inside of work. So what we tend to do is spend a lot of our time working with leaders and managers, helping them with their thinking, and using that GoMad framework to say what differences do we want to make inside the business. As a coaching framework, asking questions around it. Team development, personal effectiveness, and also with change and project management. So what I'd like to do with you now is to share with you how this can be used as an organizational development framework. So we're going to take those 7 key principles, just lay them out slightly differently, and the 7th key principle about taking action and measure results, we can do about all of these 6 dots that you see on the screen now. So instead of talking about personal responsibility, we're going to be talking about leadership responsibility. So when I'm facilitating senior management teams, I really get them to answer the question, what is the essence of leadership responsibility in this team or this business? And is it the same now as it was maybe 3 years ago before the current, economic situation developed? I'll then ask them, one of my favorite questions is to give them a post-it note each and to say, without consulting each other, just write down the vision or the objectives of this organization with the timescale. And I never cease to be surprised at the variation that people get. I mean, it's quite common to get maybe 4 or 5 different versions of the vision with 3 or 4 different timescales on that. And if that happens, it's obviously clear that we need to take some action on that bit before we leave the room. Instead of talking about a personal reason why, we'll look at an organisation reason why. So what is the reason for wanting to make a difference or change? And I use these two terms interchangeably. Do you want to change something, or do you want to make a difference? Stay the same or make a difference? Now, if you're communicating the vision or the goal that you want to make a difference about, it also helps people when you communicate, and this is the reason why we want to make that difference. And it's worth checking, and this is why these lines are indicated in red, the line between the leadership responsibility and the reason why. Is everybody saying the same thing? Has everybody got clarity, not just about the vision, but about the reason why, and are they communicating it? If not, who's the weakest link? And then let's look at self-belief. Instead of self-belief at a personal level, let's look at the collective beliefs, the thoughts that are going through people's head that work in the organisation. Those collective thoughts manifest themselves in actions and behaviours. That can be seen and talked about as the culture. Now, the key thing here is the current culture helping or hindering the beliefs, helping or hindering the vision and where we're getting to? Okay, I've just got a question that's come in at this point. And the question's from Debbie, and she says, what do you do if the current culture isn't what you want it to be? Okay, great question, Debbie. So the question is, whose responsibility is that? Because the culture isn't going to change itself on its own. And I would say at this point, the leadership have to take responsibility for saying, look, we have got to change the culture. And I'll explain this a little bit later as we just go on. Let's move on. And I'll bear that question in mind, Debbie. Because instead of planning priorities, if you look at that as a management function, we look at the management thinking and planning. Maybe what the leaders have got to say is, how do we engage with the management to help their thinking and planning? Because if we don't help their thinking and planning, the culture is going to remain the same. But the managers go, what about the people? Involving others. How do we get them involved? Because if we could get them making a difference, that would be really great. So now the leaders have got to think, how do we engage with the people? So if we could get the leaders making a difference, and we could get the managers making a difference, and we could get the people engaged and making a difference, if we go back to that culture piece, do you think the culture might change? And that's a lot of the work that we do here at Go Mad is getting organisations joined up, saying, how can we do exactly that? How can we get the leaders making a difference, the managers making a difference, the people making a difference, and embedding it in to the working practices? Because then the culture will change, especially if you're building in 90-day challenges where people are making a difference in line with those vision and objectives every 90 days. Okay, time's pressing, so let's move on. Hopefully, Debbie, that's answered your question. Just let me know if it has, or we can do some further work offline on that. Here's a question for you. How many IT systems do you have in your organisation? Just hands up if you think you've got too many IT systems in your organisation, because that's the common one that's said. Hands up if you think you've got too many. 67% of you say that you have got too many IT systems in your organisation. Okay, here's the next question. How many thinking systems do you have in your organisation? Ooh, a bit of confusion there. Because I'm going to suggest that you have as many thinking systems as you have people in your organisation. Right? If you've got 1,000 people, there are 1,000 people thinking. Now, how many of them are helpful, solution-focused thinkers, and how many of them are problem-focused thinkers? Because essentially what CodeMad can give you is a thinking framework, a thinking system that can be shared throughout the whole of the organisation. So, over to you. what questions do you have at this point about anything to do with the GoMad framework, anything that I've shared with you so far, anything to do with the underpinning research? And we haven't really touched on this because the research was done with 4,000 people over the space of a 14-month period, where we went out interviewing people, profiling them. We took a film crew with us for 2 months, and we filmed loads of people, we audio recorded them, and the output that I've been sharing with you in those 7 key principles is what we found from that research. So if you've got any questions about that, please ask. And then finally, any other questions that you've got about application. Okay, I've got a question coming from Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Question is this: how simple is this GoMad framework to learn? The answer is very simple, because if you get a group of people together and you ask them about what sort of differences they would like to make, they will all have an opinion about something they want to change. We then work with them in real time, helping them to define goals, do the possibility thinking, check their self-belief, all in relation to a business difference that they want to make. So whilst we started as training and development consultants 14 years ago, we've tended to move more into business improvement consultants that do training that is always related to improvements that we want to make within the organization, that people want to make. So you can do this from a day to an 18-month business improvement transformation program if you want to transform the culture. Now, let me share with you some organizations that are currently using the GoMad framework in various contexts. Some of those are large global organizations: Cisco, 3M, Aon, a large risk insurance business, Rolls-Royce. We run all the coaching programs in their aerospace business. Allianz Boots have used us and use us for a lot of change programs there. Doing a lot of work with DHL at the moment. Various organizations, and you'll see all sorts of industry sectors. So the GoMad framework can actually be applied across any sort of organization. It doesn't matter whether you're Hyde, which is a housing group, or whether you're BDO, which is a firm of accountants, or manufacturing sugar, whatever. So I want to give you finally a glimpse of the future. And if you're interested in this, I'll give you something as a free gift here. iChieve is a brand new internet-based platform that enables individuals to define and work towards achieving their goals as if I was available 24/7 to coach you. It contains over 25 thinking tools. It's got 4 goal defining tools. It's got lots of possibility thinking tools. It's also got a library of over 200 resources, audios, films, written resources that you can download. And basically it acts as a storage and a reminder for your goals, your thoughts and key priorities. And we've just spent 2 years developing this with a local university with their head of artificial intelligence, so that we can actually put this on everybody's desktop or laptop. And this is absolutely brand new at the moment. So if you're interested in trialing that, just let us know and we will sort out a free trial. So we've come to the end of this webinar. So all from me, thank you for attending. Thank you to Sarah and Debbie for your questions. Excuse me. After this, you're going to be sent a copy of the following via an email from Hijinder. You'll get the slides, you'll get the audio recording, you'll get those questions. We'll also include a few more questions for you as well. And look out for more webinars on mytrainingexpert.com. Okay, if you need anything, please call the KnowledgePool team and I'm happy to answer any questions you've got. So from me, Andy, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and go forward and, as my father always taught me to say, make a difference. Have a great day.